Hey everybody, welcome on into the office today. We're going to talk a minute. We're reading in our Bible reading plan here at the church. We're reading in the Gospel of Luke. Today we're at chapter 19. It's one of my favorite chapters, just to be honest. And maybe it's because it's a familiar, maybe Sunday school lesson when I was a child. But we're going to start here where it starts with Zacchaeus. So it says that Jesus was going, he was making his final journey into Jerusalem for the last time. He would be handed over, tried, convicted, unjustly convicted, and put to death, buried, and raised again here very soon. So this is the last time that he's going into Jerusalem with his disciples, and they go through Jericho, and here he meets Zacchaeus. It says that as he entered Jericho, he's passing through it. A man named Zacchaeus, he's a notorious tax collector, one of the chief tax collectors, and he wanted to see Jesus. He was a little guy in stature, and so it said that he ran and he climbed up a tree. You might be familiar with that, just so he could get a look at Jesus. And Jesus walks by, and it says that he looked up and he spoke up to Zacchaeus. And he made an announcement to him. Well, let me read to you. I'm going to pick up in verse 8. It says, "Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I will give half of my wealth to the poor. If I have cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much." Jesus responded, "Salvation has come to your home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost." He goes on in and he tells a story after Zacchaeus has done this, and after he says, "This is why I'm here." And he talks about a nobleman in verse 12 called, this is a parable, this is a story with a purpose. He was called away to a distant land, and but he would later return and to be named the king. And so it says, before he left, verse 13, he called together 10 of his servants and divided among them 10 pounds of silver, saying, "Invest this for me while I'm gone." But the people there, they were hating on him and didn't want him to be their king. It didn't matter. He still did what he did. After he was crowned king, he returned and called those servants together again and asked about what their profits were from what he had given them to put to work. And in verse 16, it says that the first servant reported, said, "Master, I've invested money and have made 10 times the original amount." And he says, "Well done. You've done a good job. You've done a good job at investing what has been entrusted to you." We'll come back to that in a minute. But then he just goes on from there. He keeps wandering after he tells them the story. He wanders down the road and up into Jerusalem. And so it says, when he reached the place where the road started down the Mount of Olives, his followers began to shout and sing as they walked along, praising God for the wonderful things that they had seen, and that they were shouting blessings on him who comes in the name the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Glory to the highest heavens. So let me just talk about that for a minute. Let's back up to that. The Lord looked up and he spoke up to Zacchaeus. That's where this starts. And he's announcing that he desires to be a guest in Zacchaeus's home. And Zacchaeus' life was changed immediately. He took all of his wealth that he had accumulated, that had been, he's here. And whether it was, he's accumulated wealth, whether it was by doing good or not by doing good. And he's like, "Oh, what I have is not really mine." And he announced that he would give it back. He would give it back. And so Jesus was so impressed by that, he speaks very favorably of him. And he says, "That's what I'm coming for, to seek and save those who are lost, to give them purpose and meaning in life." Okay, so uh, and then he tells the story about all the, and really it's a reflection of all the people, the religious leaders, the teachers of the law, and so on and so forth, did not really want him to be the king. But that didn't change that he was the king. And they didn't want him to be king any more than the Israelites long ago back in the days of Samuel. You can look that up in the first handful of chapters in the book of 1 Samuel, and they're asking for a king, and Samuel's like, God is our king. And they're like, no, we want a king like everybody else. And these guys didn't want Jesus as their king. And so I think this whole chapter is pointing to, are you going to believe in Jesus, and then are you going to invest what you've been entrusted to by the Lord, your resources, whether it's your financial resources, whether it's your talents or your time, your passions in life, are you going to invest them for the glory of God? Are you going to acknowledge that Jesus is the master, the king, and he will return? And so in the meantime, we are called to call on and to acknowledge and to glorify the King of glory. That is Jesus. And so, wow, what a story. So as we have the things we're given, maybe we should take to heart just what Jesus was doing. He looked up and he saw someone in need, and he spoke to them. And I'm looking up, and just imagine Jesus staring into the tree, seeing Zacchaeus. I think that's a powerful story. We come across and run into all kinds of people that we could stop and notice and speak into their lives. That's a large part, I think, of investing of what God has given you. He's given us this day. He's given us the moments. Are we going to invest them for his glory? Are we acknowledging him as king? Or are we more like those who's like, I don't have time for a king in my life? May we consider it, and may we respond accordingly for God's glory. God bless you all. I hope that helps you as you endeavor to read Luke 19. God bless, and we'll see you soon.